This is Ecstasy Motion, and my name is Nick. I'm going to be giving you a guided tour through Ecstasy Motion today. This is your basic window that pops up when you open the program. Let's just go ahead and hit Start. This brings up the mission selector, or maybe better put, the set selector. These are your different sets or missions or levels, or however you want to look at it, that contain the different scenes that you will be using with your actors. So we'll just go ahead and load up the default one. We've got these other two options though, but let's go ahead and reload the default. Alright, so this is our basic window here with Ecstasy Motion. Over here on the left and across the top, we're not going to be using too many of the features on this, not right away anyway. So let's go ahead and venture down and take a look at the timeline really quick. We've got some useful features down here on the timeline. These we'll be using a lot more, but we're not really going to be using any of them right away. These are for viewing and watching our sequences go through. Like if I start up a walk cycle, play it, you can see it shows each frame. Typical timeline sort of thing. That brings us over here to the right-hand side. This is our rollout, starting here at the Ecstasy Motion Tools and heading down towards GA Panel here. The top part of this is Sequence Tools. These are your tools for editing your sequences, like your walk cycle or your run or whatever you happen to be loading onto your actor. We can select those there. We can play them here. We can also hit play down on the timeline, and it will play them as well. Notice right now he doesn't actually move when we do that. I'll go ahead and pan so you can see his feet. He doesn't actually move right now. That's because ground animate is not turned on. That way you can watch it and make sure that there's no weird errors in it. We'll go ahead and hit ground animate so you can see what that does. I'll hit play. He walks forward. We'll go ahead and reset the scene so he's not right in front of us. Alright, so inside of the Sequences tab, got some useful information in there. Not a lot of it we're going to be using right away, but thought I would show what this menu looks like. We can see our frame count. We can take a look at what's going on with some different nodes. We can change the time amount of it, and something fairly useful, we could make it cyclic, which now if we press play, you can see he'll just walk on a loop. This is nice for fine-tuning out those little twitches like you can see in his head and stuff right now. Go ahead and turn that off and stop him. Alright. BVH import and export is just what it sounds like. This is where we can import and export in BVH format. Pretty straightforward. We'll be using this some in the next couple videos, so I won't go into detail here. FBX, this is pretty similar to our BVH import export, only we're only exporting here. We can export our model and his textures, and we can add some animations to him as well. So we could go ahead and throw his walk cycle on there, and we could put the run cycle on there as well. And now when you export him and load him up into something like Unity, he will have two animations already loaded onto him for use right away. This is pretty handy. Keyframe editing, just as probably most of you suspected, this is where you can tweak the rotations and values of different nodes. The hip happens to be his base node, so anything we do to his hip nodes will be done to everything. So if we went and looked at his head, we could add some rotations to that. Maybe. There we go. You can see him rotating a little bit there. Kind of disturbing, but you get the idea. Alright, input devices. This is where you can hook up your OptiTrack if you're so lucky as to have one of those. More likely though, this is where you can also start up your Kinect, where you can watch your character do various things based on your motion using your Xbox's Kinect, as long as you have the little computer adapter cable. Scene tools. This is your bar, your top bar for the next set of things. Scene tools, this is where we can load up our whole scene. So if you had a lot of actors that you wanted to do different things to, this is where you'd load it. As you can see when I switch to my scene here, he has now acquired an M16. This is where we can reset the scene. So if you had ground animated and he walked a long ways away, just hitting reset scene will bring him back to his starting position. Right now he's at his starting position, but we could demo that really quick. So now he's all the way up there. We just want to bring him back. There he is. You can record the scene, play the scene. Don't know if I have any scene events on him right now. Nope. And he seems to have rotated in the at the end of that. Weapons. This is how you add, like he has an M16 on him right now. We could replace that with a sword if we wanted. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as the M16 though. This is also where you can add new weapons and things to your actor. Here, we can also attach new animations that are specific to the weapons in this menu. We're not going to go into too much detail on how to do that. Just take a look at what they are. Scene events. This would be your walk to position, your run to position, attack target, ragdoll forces. You can do all of these things that are timed. Lots of options in scene events. We'll go ahead and open that up, but we're not going to do anything with it right at the moment. Playlists and personas, we're going to go ahead and skip over. Physics gives you some information about the various nodes that have physics on this character. We're not going to do anything with that right now. This is a pretty complicated window. A little more advanced features here. We'll cover that in later videos. Database in GL. Database, this is where you can change which database that you are currently using. This will all become a lot more apparent in later videos when we talk about the database, and where you can import different features from another database. We're not going to use that right now. We'll talk about that much more later on. GA panel. This is not quite in its final state yet, but it's pretty close to where it's going to be. This is for our genetic algorithms. We will go into much more detail on those later on for those of you not familiar with genetic algorithms.